Your presentation at Search Marketing Expo.
Yeah.
Take us through some of the key takeaways.
All right. So a couple things. Be careful of duplicate content. It's not a penalty in that Google is going to ban you if you have duplicate content unless you're a spammer, right? And then all bets are off, right? But legitimate duplication of content usually is by accident or by technical reasons or editorial reasons, maybe some political reasons, etc. Try and minimize that as much as possible because people will link to the different versions of that story or that content or that product that may exist out there, right? So make sure your URL structure is set up properly. You can't get to blue widgets from both blue and widgets, right? Have one set folder structure. If you can't do it from the CMS level, right? If you can't do it right out of the gate, utilize what's called a canonical tag. The canonical tag says that you can keep the user on that page, but when they're on that page, you're passing any page rank, any link structure, any type of ranking factors to another page that you specify in your HTML. So with Tribune, we have LA Times writes a great article. Chicago Tribune doesn't want to waste the resources to rewrite the same type of article, so they take the LA Times article, they put it on Chicago Tribune. Okay, we pass all of those ranking factors from Chicago Tribune back to LA Times because they created it. Okay, so we can do those types of things. E-commerce sites can do the same thing, right? You can choose to, if you got to this page from going to widgets and then blue, well, I don't really want that URL to rank. I want it when it goes to blue and then widgets to rank instead, right? And you can pass that page rank that way through the canonical tag. Doesn't change the user experience. Okay. Other way you can do it is what's called a 301 redirect, and that's a server function that more or less you would have gone to xyz.html, but instead, as soon as the browser tries to call that up, you're going to redirect them to abc.html instead. And it does change the user experience, changes them, it more or less forces them to another URL.
So what you're suggesting with these 301 directs is that the user would be seeking based on a certain URL, a keyword that's matched that URL, but you actually get the option to redirect them to...
Well, really what it is in retail, it works really well for discontinued products, right? So if model number 1234 is now discontinued, when it goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, you'll want to redirect that old model to the new model. Happened a lot when I was in retail with TVs and receivers and that type of stuff, right? The latest model comes out. Well, you still have a lot of links going into Denon receiver, right? And you have all of this great inbound link structure coming into it. Well, you don't want to lose it all just because Denon decides to come out with the next greatest 9.1 channel receiver, right? And so you move all your page rank from this old receiver to the new one, right? That's one way you can do that. And that would be more... That'd be more of a situation for a 301 redirect. Like you can't sell this old one anyway. No need to really show them that. You want to bring them to the newest and latest and greatest, right? So that's where you'd use more of a 301 than a canonical tag. And a canonical would be more like, you got here from Denon versus receiver, or receiver versus Denon, that type of stuff, where you want to just leave them on the page. So just different things you can do. So other things are multiple sites. So when you have multiple sites, you want to do similar things. You'll also want to utilize some of the newer technologies that are coming out, how you communicate with social media sites, for example, from your code. Facebook has open graph protocols, right? So if you want to have a certain title show up when someone likes your story or shares your story, maybe it's going to be a little bit different for Facebook, right? So if you have a product, let's say it's a receiver, right? In your product title, it might be Denon, AVR 3401 7.1 channel receiver stereo blah blah blah, super long, right? But when someone shares it on Facebook, maybe you want to put Denon 7.1 receiver. That's it. Short and sweet and to the point. They don't care about the model numbers and all this stuff, right? You can do that with Facebook Open Graph protocols in HTML. A lot of other things you can do in there as well. So other things are controlling what pages Google crawls and when they crawl them. So I like last modified dates. Telling Google that, you've already seen a copy of this. You've already made a copy of it. Nothing's really changed here. And tell you what, instead of wasting your time and resources to make another copy of this same piece of information, go head off somewhere else and make a copy of that instead.
Right.
And that saves on your crawl inventory. And for really large sites, right, you get fresher content picked up that way.
Okay.
So
So there's a lot of insights around that duplication and I guess just improving the efficiency of the content that's on the site.
yeah, and in the way, and with a lot of the changes that Google's made, freshness is going to be key, right? Making sure that they can quickly find your stuff, they aren't wasting their time and resources looking at things they've seen before, making sure that all that's consolidated to one location. Try and do that the best way you can, but there's a couple other fallback positions you can use. And this is about optimization, right? It's called search engine optimization. It's not search engine perfection. It's not search engine, it's good enough, right? We're constantly trying to tweak things the best we can to do a little bit better. And I guess I get a little frustrated. People are like, well, that will make that much of a difference. Well, I don't care. You know what? It's optimization. It makes a little bit of a difference, right? Yes, I would love to solve this problem, but I can't yet. But I can do these tweaks over here. And so you do it what you can, when you can, and then you keep focused on some of the bigger levers you can pull.
I guess just some final words of wisdom, perhaps around the best platforms, I suppose, that you know of that are SEO friendly, or other things you can do beyond what we've just spoken about. So,
So the big things for me, I do like WordPress as far as a blog platform. So I'm gonna stand on that one. I think Joost de Valk out of Iceland, just yoast.com, has some great stuff on how to make WordPress even better. He has some specific plugins. One of them I helped him co-author for at least the news aspect of it. So don't just take WordPress out of the box. Add some additional value to it. Put in the right plugins, etc. As far as other content management systems are concerned, make sure they can do what you want them to do. We built ours from scratch 12 years ago. SEO was not a focus. Hasn't been until I started there in February of 2008, right? Maybe about a year or so beforehand, but for the most part, it wasn't a big focus. Well, we have built a lot of tools. I can literally 301 redirect massive amounts of content if I need to a specific location. In breaking news scenarios, sometimes that's helpful. Michael Jackson died, right? I took all my Michael Jackson stories, I 301 redirected them to the story about him dying, right? And I took all my dead, death, dies, and dying stories, and I redirected all of them to that same story. Merged that link structure together, Michael Jackson and the concept of death together.
Okay.
What happened? We were number 2, right? In Google, TMZ beat us, bastards, right? But they broke the story, right? So it's legitimate that they would have been right above us. But we were number 2 for most of the Michael Jackson queries. Number 3 in some instances for CNN was beating us out. But those are huge wins, and that's the power of the CMS, right?
And for retailers, that could have great implications for, say, flash sales and things like that. Where you can
well, from a retail perspective, right? Think about what are going to be your really big sellers, right? If it's this specific Sony TV, how do you get as much page rank as you can from the term Sony TV, Sony HD TV, Sony Plasma, etc., all focused down to one specific Sony television that is the hot one on that particular day, weekend, that sale, whatever it may be, and having a dynamic CMS that can do that. And if you're a large enough site where you get recrawled frequently enough, can be very powerful. I'm noticing that most normal sites are getting crawled within 48 hours or so. And smaller sites, not so much. But PageRank 7, and I hate to use the word PageRank, but PageRank 7, like domain strength, tend to get crawled every 48, 72 hours, somewhere there. And if you do a little bit of planning, you can plan for Black Friday sales or weekend sales, whatever they may be.